But just because somebody does things a certain way, it doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. And I don't want you to mistake somebody else's certainty for the ultimate truth. When people are standing in their truth and their authenticity and they're creating content, you will see a lot of certainty wording.
You're listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. I'm your host, Jill Perrick, a business and mindset coach who specializes in imposter syndrome. If you feel like you're not as smart, capable, or worthy as you actually are, and that someone is going to find you out, then you come to the right place. I went from being a struggling government worker, working my coaching business on the side, but feeling unworthy and burnt out, to making multiple six figures helping women overcome imposter syndrome so they too can sign clients, make bank, and have the business or career of their dreams. I am nothing special. I have a stuttering disability, ADHD, and I struggle with anxiety and depression. So if I can learn how to feel good enough and overcome my inner imposter, then so can you. Let's dig in.
Hi queens, welcome back to the pod. Today's episode is going to be a fucking good one. I'm so excited for you to hear it. It's going to be exactly what you need to fucking hear today. But before we dive in, I want to tell you what's happening right this second, and that is my birthday sale. For 48 hours only, there are insane sales happening over on my Instagram at Your Coach Jill. You can get any of my courses, bundles, or masterclasses for 50% off for 48 hours only. And there are also coaching opportunities in this birthday sale. You can join the From Imposter to Empowered program and get $333 off because I'm turning 33 on Friday. And you get one-to-one time as well if you join the From Imposter to Empowered program during the birthday sale. Whether you do a payment plan, whether you pay in full, whatever it is, you get that time with me inside of the program. And there's also an option for an intensive that I'm only doing exclusively for the birthday sale, where you'll get a 90-minute intensive with me in 2 weeks in Telegram. You'll have me all to yourself for just $555. As I said, the birthday sale is only for today, Wednesday, March 19th, and tomorrow, Thursday, March 20th, where you can get 50% off all my courses, bundles, and masterclasses, and where you can also coach with me inside of the From Imposter to Empowered program or an intensive package that is exclusive to the birthday sale. So that is happening right now on Instagram at Your Coach Jill. Head over there on Instagram and hit me up and let's chat. So let's talk today about the feeling of being wrong and how this is actually imposter syndrome, and it's stomping on and dampening all of your fucking magic when it comes to showing up and creating your content. And before I actually explain how this feeling of being wrong is connected to your imposter syndrome, let me remind you that imposter syndrome is actually the feeling of not being good enough. In the most simplistic terms, the feeling of not being good enough and how that manifests into behaviors and how it manifests into results. The reason why I ultimately decided to take this on as a thing that I help my clients overcome in the very beginning, right? Just one of the things, but one of the biggest things, is because of how imposter syndrome can be like glitter. When that shit gets in somewhere, you will be finding it everywhere, even when you think that you've cleaned it all up. And the thing too is imposter syndrome is not just exclusive to the beginning of your business, to when you're not making any money. It will also start to come up because this job demands you to be a leader. It demands you to be your highest self. It demands you to constantly be evolving and reinventing yourself because you're being paid to evolve. You are being paid as the person that you are, and that just demands a different level of respect that somebody who works in an office job just doesn't really need to have. So I know for me, when I used to work for the government, I didn't have to be anybody but that government worker. I went in and did my job and I left. There was no need to respect myself. There was no need to do any of this personal development work because I would just go in and do my job and leave. But there was an element to evolution that I was always drawn to. I was always trying to get certifications. I was always trying to get different opportunities for different roles, right? And that's because I was trying to like satiate this need for evolution and purpose and passion, right? And I just wasn't able to find it in my government job. So I decided to become a business owner. And that's when I really discovered, like, I'm really into developing who I am, developing the skills that I have, and that can be turned into a career. Like, I didn't even know coaching existed until I started going down the path of becoming a therapist. But then I found it and I was like, I'm going to open my own business and become a coach despite imposter syndrome, right? And still having this imposter syndrome. And it wasn't until I dealt with it that I was really able to grow and make the money that I wanted to make, because As I said, imposter syndrome is like fucking glitter. It's going to get everywhere. You're going to find it in certain nooks and crannies, even when you think, no, it's gone. I don't have to worry about that anymore. It's going to come up for you until you really look at it as something that you struggle with and something that you can overcome. And like, again, I am not for somebody who is like a Lona Mar who says, I don't experience imposter syndrome at all. That's amazing. My work is for the woman who has always had this feeling of not being enough. My work is for the woman who's an overachiever, a perfectionist, who's actually so fucking smart and brilliant, but this wound of not being enough is starting to come up for her in a way that is getting in the way of her results, and that's getting in the way of her evolution. That is who my work is for. And you're here because that is you. You're an overachiever. You're a perfectionist. You know you're capable of big fucking amazing things, and you know that in order to get there you have to go through the mindset blocks that you know are holding you back, because you know you're your biggest fucking enemy. And that is how you achieve all the things. You learn to conquer your shit, conquer yourself, and fully and completely respect yourself so you can show up authentically in your truth and be the leader that I know you fucking are. So imposter syndrome is that feeling of not being good enough, and it can show up in a myriad of ways that aren't just in your business. With your relationships, it can show up as people pleasing. I know for me, I would constantly let friends and people just walk all over me because I didn't feel good enough. I felt like people wouldn't stick around if I was not doing things for them, or if I spent any time talking about me. I recall feeling very uncomfortable whenever a conversation would turn to talk about me. For some reason, this didn't feel like this with my husband, which is so interesting. Like, I have no problem taking up room in that relationship. He's the only person who I've ever felt like 1,000% accepted me for who I am and just allows me to be me and isn't going to leave, which is really beautiful. But the same thing too, like with my family, like with my sister, she always jokes with me that I am fully unmasked in front of her because I have ADHD, right? And I don't feel like I need to mask around her because she's my sister and she's not fucking going anywhere, you know? But when it comes to like people that don't have to be around me, right? Like friends, clients, etc. I used to be very sensitive and I was a people pleaser, and that came from this feeling of I'm not enough. In jobs, I would pass over opportunities sometimes to other people that I thought deserved it more because I thought that I didn't. I would go after jobs, but if somebody was like, well, this is actually going to be for someone else, I was like, yep, that makes total sense, no problem. Before I really learned how to conquer imposter syndrome, I was very quick to allow someone else to take up space and to shrink myself in the process. And then this just trickles into your business. When you start showing up online, you start being like, I can't take up space. I can't say the things that I want to say because people aren't going to get it. And they're more important than me. They're not going to understand. They're not going to get me. You also have this need for a lot of validation, and you're not going to get that online. I'll tell you that for free. There's also this thought of like, am I going to be good enough to make money? And the problem is it does take time to make money, and I don't give a fuck about saying that. Like, I know that people are like, it doesn't have to take a long time. And for some people it doesn't, but those people are probably exceptionally skilled in sales and marketing. You know, as somebody who does not come from a sales or marketing background, I had to learn that shit. It was a skill. I had to learn how to talk about results. I had to learn how to talk about my transformation. I had to learn how to do all of those things for myself and for my business. And then I started to see the money. And then I started to, as I was doing the work on myself, as I was learning to communicate my value, and as I was learning to stand in my confidence, that's when, again, I started to make the money. So I don't give a fuck if somebody's like, oh, you shouldn't talk about the fact that it takes time to make money. It fucking does, okay? It does. And the problem is when you feel like a fraud, you will turn that around on yourself and you'll be like, it's because I'm not good enough. And there's evidence of me not being good enough because I'm not making money, right? You'll use it against yourself. And because you're using it against yourself, you're watering yourself down, your content sucks, and you just end up in this spiral that always gets to the end. And the answer is always, I'm not good enough. And now coming to the topic of this episode, finally, I think that what also comes up that is embedded in imposter syndrome is the thought that I'm wrong and somebody else is right. I come from an East Indian patriarch. My granddad, who is going to be 91 this month, actually in a week today, which is Wednesday, March 26th. Him and my grandma came to Canada in the 60s from England, but he was born and raised in India. And while he's very progressive in a lot of ways, he's a very supportive grandfather, so proud of me for starting a business. He has some patriarchal tendencies, some patriarchal ideas, and I grew up around that. So my dad is one of his 3 sons, and I also have an older brother. who actually just had my nephew back in January, my very first nephew. Him and his wife welcomed a son, and I went to go visit him back in February and had the best time. Me and my sister flew out to Alberta to go see my new little nephew and hang out with them and help them out for a weekend, and I am just so obsessed with him, totally and completely obsessed with him. He's such a sweetie. But anyways, so there's a lot of men in my family. There's even more. And I grew up around a lot of men that had an idea about their own leadership and their own power. And a lot of the time, I was told that I didn't know what I was talking about. I was just a little blonde girl that had no idea what she was talking about. And because I was so unsure of myself, I didn't feel good enough. I would just hesitantly say what I thought or what I believed and was routinely shot down because I was a kid and then I was a girl, right? I interpreted a lot of experiences that I had as I shouldn't take up space, I shouldn't share my emotions, I shouldn't do this, I shouldn't do that. And in no way am I blaming any of the men in my life, but there was always a tone, an underlying tone and an understanding that men know best and men are smarter and that women have their roles. Something that I really took on that I had to heal when I was overcoming imposter syndrome was this feeling of always being wrong or always being questioned. It turned into like over explaining and feeling like I needed to over explain myself because I had to like show that I was not only telling the truth, but that like I was convicted in the thing that I was saying. I was very used to being questioned by people, even if it was just a normal conversation. I felt criticized whenever I felt something or thought something, even now as an adult. And I think this comes from like him being a parent to me. My dad will sometimes assume that somebody put a thought in my head instead of me coming to a conclusion because I'm an almost 33-year-old woman with a fucking master's degree and my own multiple six-figure business, right? But my dad still sees me as his little girl. I don't know anything. He needs to lead. He needs to teach me, whatever the fuck he thinks, right? We'll just allow him to think that, okay? So I am very familiar with this feeling of being wrong or having people question me and then feeling like I have to over-explain the context and over-explain myself. This is a symptom of imposter syndrome, and I used to do this all the time in business. I used to do that all the time with clients, with potential clients, not realizing that this was a feeling of, but what if I'm wrong? And what if other people are right? So this would really come in terms of like a lack of confidence in coaching, which I'm going to talk about in a second. So we question ourselves, but it's almost as if we're blindly assuming that other people are right over us, that other people are smarter, are more correct, know more than we do, and that is imposter syndrome. And a way that I've seen this come up for myself and for clients too is not feeling confident in your coaching of somebody. So I have had clients before where a client has come to me and been like, I don't know how to lead a client through this. How do I help them through this? What answer do I give them? Because they don't trust themselves to give the correct coaching. And correct is in quotation marks because there is no correct coaching, right? Like there is just your truth. There is just what you know. There is just what you're embodied in. There is just the thing that you would help them do, because the thing is, you as a coach, you as a service pro, they're not asking you what is the ultimate truth. They are working with you and they're paying you because you're a leader in your field, because you know what to do, and because you're a powerful person that they want to be around. They are genuinely asking for your opinion, asking for what you believe, what you think, so you can empower them, encourage them, so you can help them with whatever they're dealing with in your own way. And I think where imposter syndrome comes in is it tells you that there is a correct answer and that you need to make sure that you give them the right one. And then what happens is people collapse into that. They collapse into that being like, I don't know what I'm talking about. And they sound very unsure when they're coaching their clients, or they feel unsure and they give them advice that really isn't true to them, but is something that they think the client needs to hear. Or they don't tell the client what the client actually needs to fucking hear, like when they need a reality check, and instead they coddle them. I could totally talk about how imposter syndrome causes people pleasing. We all know it does. I feel like I've created a podcast about that before, but it just creates this environment around you of I'm wrong, I don't know what I'm talking about, and other people know better than me. And this will come up in your content as well, especially if you're very prone to looking at what other people are doing and comparing yourself. It's going to be so easy for you to look at what someone else is doing and just assume that they fucking know better. Like just assume that they know better, that they know how to help this person with their content or their sales or their messaging better, or that the way that they do things is correct and the way that you do things isn't. And this can also look like you like confirming that what you're doing is good enough, like joining courses and stuff like that, and then seeing how somebody is doing something and thinking, oh, okay, like that's how I do things, so that's okay now. You look to somebody else for permission instead of giving it to yourself. But just because somebody does things a certain way, it doesn't mean it's the right way to do it. And I don't want you to mistake somebody else's certainty for the ultimate truth. When people are standing in their truth and their authenticity and they're creating content, you will see a lot of certainty wording. This is what I call it inside of my content course, Unfiltered and Filthy Rich. You get access to that content course when you join the From Imposter to Empowered program or my mastermind or one-to-one coaching. It's so fucking good. But I call this certainty wording, okay? It's when you're so certain in your power, so certain in yourself, so fucking sure of yourself that you are saying how you think and how you feel, and you're really grounded in it. You really believe it. You really believe that that is the solution for your clients. But what will happen is somebody will look at it and be like, well, that's the right way. And if you've been in this industry long enough, you know that there is no right way. There is just a way. There are just many different ways that could possibly be. But when you get caught up in what's the right way to make money, what's the right way to make sales, what's the right way to send clients, you will learn over time. If you're so fucking hellbent on it, you will finally fucking learn that there is no right way. You will invest so much money and spend so much time trying to search for the answer to blowing up your sales and blah, 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 but there is no right way. There are just multiple ways, and there are ways that are going to work for you amazingly, and there are ways that are not. But when you're creating content, nobody is going to pay someone who is not convicted in their messaging, who does not truly believe in what they're saying. So imagine if somebody was like, who's that fucking emailing lady? Amy Porterfield. Oh my God, you guys, when I was doing the script for this, I could not figure out her name for the life of me. And now it just came to me now. Amy Porterfield, okay? She is like the emailing guru. And she has always said like email is the way to scale your business, right? But it's not the only way. It is just a way. But if you heard her say, yeah, you could use email, but you could also do this and you could also do that, you would scroll away, right? Like she needs to be in conviction that what she does works and that what she does, she believes is the best way possible. But that doesn't mean it's the only way. And you're using this against yourself instead of using it for yourself and being like, oh, I need to be in conviction. I need to be in total certainty. If you are not in total conviction of what it is you're doing and certain about how you do things, then yeah, it's going to come off as wishy-washy, as watering yourself down. And this is just another way that this feeling of being wrong is going to bleed into your marketing and how you're showing up. Don't mistake somebody else's conviction for the ultimate truth, because you are allowed to have and be in your own conviction, to be certain about what you do, your process, your method, how it works, how it's worked for you, how it's worked for your clients. You're allowed to be in total conviction of that without being afraid of somebody saying that you're wrong, because the truth is you could never be wrong. Your experience could never be wrong. Who you are could never be wrong. And anybody who would try to tell you that you're wrong or that this is black and white, this is all or nothing, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about when it comes to the online space. They have no idea. Those people are probably people that you don't want to listen to. And the truth is there is a lot of duality. There's a lot of gray area when it comes to the kind of things that you and I do as coaches and as service providers, but your experience can never be wrong. This is why, again, I used to work for the government. I specifically used to work for the police as a civilian, and I used to write out reports. That was one of the jobs that I had. I had to write out the reports of an occurrence that took place. So if there was like a robbery, for example, I would write out those reports. And that's why the police take multiple witness statements. They're not going to take one witness statement at an event where there were like 30 other people. They're going to talk to multiple different people to get multiple different perspectives to put the pieces together to figure out what the fuck happened. And each experience is valid unless somebody is making things up. Their experience is valid. What they saw is valid. It's just like that example of when someone says there can be 10 people in a room and they can all see the same thing, but they're all going to take something away differently because of their own experience, because of their own story, because of their own history. They're all going to take something away from it that is different, even if they saw the exact same thing. When you play a movie, we're all going to take a different thing away from it because fundamentally we are all different. So you could never be wrong. Your experience is not wrong, and you will be so much better for it when you learn how to remind yourself that your truth is valid, that you are valid, that your experiences and that your truth are more than enough. They are more than good enough, and that this is just imposter syndrome rearing its ugly head. Whenever you start to get that panicky feeling of I'm not doing enough, I'm not saying enough, I don't know, right? Like there is an actual special kind kind of freeze state that comes up when you struggle with imposter syndrome, and that is the freeze state of I don't know. Sometimes I hear this from clients when they come to work with me. They'll say like, I don't know a lot, and it's not that they actually don't know, it's because they're dysregulated. Their nervous system is dysregulated and they truly think that they don't know when really they have a million thoughts running through their head at any given time. Like, I'm not good enough. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know the right answer. They're not going to like me. They're going to judge me. They're going to shame me. And then the answer comes out, I don't know, when really you do know. When I was first coaching and I started to get those first couple of clients, specifically in a group container, I really had to do a lot of nervous system regulation, and I would do that before calls. But when I was in group containers and I was the lead coach in group containers, and I feel like nobody talks about this either, the imposter syndrome of being a leader of people and leading a group can be very scary, and it can be extremely confronting when you struggle with imposter syndrome. So when I started leading groups for the first time, and I would have like a Slack channel or like a Voxer chat or something like that, and people would come in and ask questions, I would panic and think like, oh my God, I need to answer them like right away. But instead, what I learned to do is, even if I first listened to the message or read the message and thought, I don't really know how to answer this, I would always just take a step back. I took a step back, I would go for a walk, I would muse on it, and then I come back grounded and I would be able to answer. And it actually did not serve my clients whatsoever to respond right away to them, simply because I thought that I had to, or simply out of obligation and panic of being seen as not being enough or as a good enough leader. Whereas now, if I answer right away, it's because I can, it's because I'm confident in what I'm saying, and it's because I'm sure of myself. But if I see it and I think, okay, like I could respond to this right now, but I'll take my time responding so I can have a very intentional answer. And it's because I want to respond in a grounded and complete way. And that's another benefit, another bonus to doing this work on overcoming imposter syndrome. You really learn how to regulate yourself and be a better fucking coach, be a better fucking service provider. Like, we're not just talking about coaching, right? Nobody wants an OBM that isn't sure of themselves. When I talk to people that I'm hiring, I always say, please don't take it personally. If I have a problem, I'm going to bring it to you, but don't take it personally. We're not doing fucking CPR here. We're working in the online business world, and nothing is an emergency. But you can feel when people are panicked. You can feel when they're dysregulated and responding to you. So it's very important for you to overcome this feeling of being wrong, the feeling of not being good enough. It's important for you to overcome it so it can benefit every area of your business. Your marketing, how you show up and sell your offers, how you coach or service your clients, how you even do your own personal development work, and how you see yourself. So if you're like, holy fuck, Jill, you're describing me to a fucking T right now, that is because the From Imposter to Empowered program was created exactly for you to overcome this feeling of not being good enough specifically inside of your business, so you can implement the strategy and do the things you need to do and grow your fucking income without feeling like a fraud. And you will notice it's going to seep into every area of your business and every area of your life. Something that is continuously getting in the way of your personal development work, of growing your business, of signing clients, making money, doing your content, working with clients. You know that imposter syndrome is stopping you from getting to that next level in your income, from going to 5K to 10K months. You're holding yourself back and you fucking know it. And that is when you're ready to come in and do the work, to get regulated, to do the subconscious work, to do the inner work, and learn how to make 5K to 10K months on repeat through your mid-ticket and high-ticket offers. And that will come with you seeing yourself as someone who's worthy of being paid 4 figures and 5 figures for their work. We are not just here to sell things that are $100 or less, or freebies, whatever the fuck. We're not doing charity. We have businesses, and until you get out of your own way, you will not have the big business that you desire. You will not have the life that you desire, because it's actually more about creating the life that you want versus the business that you want. So the From Imposter to Empowered program, you can join for 3, 6, or 12 months. The longer you sign on for, the lower your payment plan is. Just saying, you get rewarded for that. And there is curriculum, there's hot seat coaching, there's Slack support 2 times a week, there's the courses, there's everything inside of this program. I'm the only coach inside of this program, and I'm truly obsessed with it and the women inside. In February, I just dropped a money mindset course for my clients inside, and they are fucking loving it. It's called Cash Freak, which I think is just so delicious. And that is one of the courses that you get, just one of the courses you get inside of the From Imposter to Empowered program. I throw the book at you, you get everything, you get support, and that is the place where you're going to overcome imposter syndrome, that feeling of being wrong, that feeling of not being good enough, so your business can fucking skyrocket. And don't forget, you can join now because it is the birthday sale. The birthday sale is happening right this second, and it ends tomorrow night on Thursday, March 20th at midnight. You can go right now over to my Instagram at Your Coach Jill. You can get 50% off all my courses, bundles, and masterclasses. You can join the From Imposter to Empowered program and get $333 off your first payment, whatever contract you join, 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. And whether you do a payment plan or pay in full, you will get that $333 off your first payment, and you will get one-to-one time with me. There is also an option to work with me inside of a 90-minute intensive and a 2-week Telegram sprint for only $555. So now is the fucking time to leap if you are like, damn, this is what I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for a sale like this. It's happening right now. Jump into either one of the courses, one of the bundles, one of the masterclasses for half off, or go all the way in. Come join us in the From Imposter to Empowered program, or work with me inside of the intensive and 2-week Telegram sprint. Get in on this birthday sale. Okay, so head over to my Instagram, Your Coach Jill. My actual birthday is on Friday, March 21st. I'm going to be at the spa with my girlfriends. So that's where I'll be. And I will be celebrating the fuck out of those of you who have said yes. I will see you next time. Hey babe, thank you so much for listening to this episode. Screenshot it and put it on your stories and tag me at Your Coach Jill. And if you really love me, you'll rate and review the podcast. And if you screenshot it before you submit the review and send it to me, I will send you a free gift on me. If you want to take this work deeper, come and work with me in the From Imposter to Empowered program or the Real Deal Mastermind. And finally, if you want just a snippet of my work to feel what it's like to be in my world, then you need to buy my best-selling book, You're Not Special, and you can get that on Amazon. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you next week.